Today is a day where you're going to learn about actual steps that we need to take in order for our spirit and our abundance to grow and to thrive. So it's great to be in survival mode, right? We've moved from victim mode to survival mode, but now we want to thrive. This is the time to thrive. Let's just recap the last 2 days. Day one, we dealt with the 3 foundational pillars: relationship to self, relationship to source, and relationship to others. And yesterday was a big day, I'm imagining. The Inner Child Odyssey, which was day 2, where I talked about the 6 stages of early childhood development, as well as doing that inner child meditation. I know it can rock the boat. It can rock the boat. And just give me a yep, it rocked the boat, or it gave me lots to chew on, or let's just, was that insightful? Was that helpful? Can you just give me that on the sidebar there? Because I just know that it's really a critical turning point to have to look at parts of ourselves. And it can be hard. It can be harsh. Sometimes, in the beginning, my little girl was numb. She was mute. Thank you. Okay, very much so. Yes. Insightful. Yes. Lots to reflect on. Good. Good. You know what? I got off the call, the session, and I felt like a mama bear. I felt like a little bit of a mama bear in that I need to feed you, and I need to feed you good food, right? And sometimes the food doesn't always taste great. But the good news is that you grow strong, you grow wise, you grow beautiful because of it. And then you kind of, like, for me, I'm hooked on that meditation. I still do that inner child work to this day. All right. And as I said to you yesterday, it's not about them growing up. We never want to grow up. We want to grow more innocent and come back to that purity of love that we had when we were children, where we weren't judgmental and we didn't criticize. We just accepted, and people came into the sandbox and played with us, and and we shared our toys, and or maybe we didn't, but you get my drift, right? So and that actual meditation can progress. It will progress for you, so that the child will start to talk to you. And then for you, it is about a relationship with that part. Not just that you touch into it, but that is a relationship that is strong at whatever age she appears. So mine show up in 3 different ages now, and always a little 18-month-old. Yeah, we were in St. Louis at the time, living. And like I say, Vietnam War, my mom was working. So I think I was especially vulnerable. I think I was very, very young and very vulnerable. So I always come up at that age. Then we lived then in New Haven, Connecticut, for a few years. And that's where I actually started school. So I have an American connection, guys. And there she comes up about 4, just before I started school. Or I started kindy there. And then an older version, 14, 15, 16, she shows up. So I'm working, those ages, and then she shows up at different ages. But those are the 3 predominant ones. Obviously, for me, those were the prime ones. That's all I can assess. So, yes, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad I didn't scare you off. Good. So today, we have to begin with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is, when we start a project, you get hired to do a job. Like, okay, I want this group of people to, X, Y, and Z, and be able to be competent or whatever. Or, okay, here you are the CEO of a meditation center or a yoga center or something, and now I want you to make it grow. You have to begin with the end in mind. So what is it? For you, it may be about deeper connection with the divine on a daily basis, so that you take guidance and you listen carefully. It may be for you to accept yourself just the way you are and to grow in the wisdom and the compassion. It may be about you stopping being so people-pleasing and approval-seeking and stopping tending other people's gardens and come back to your own more often. Perhaps the end in mind is, I want to have a relationship. I want to let down my wall and learn about intimacy and boundaries. So what is your end point? And you have to come to understand that you can't leap there. We can't go from where we are to where we want to get in one leap. It's a frequency thing, all right? What I talked about yesterday, like attracts like. So the frequency that we're at in this moment and the desire that we have moving forward, this frequency that we're moving into is a different frequency than we are in the present tense. And what we tend to do is we come from this place of frequency and we try and leap into joy, peace, happiness, enlightenment, right? And we're down here in optimism or in, it could be pessimism, it could be despair even. And we take a leap and then we fall in that gap. And then we get discouraged and we say, this spiritual stuff doesn't work. Doesn't work, I'm out of here. And the point is, it's got to be step by step, sequentially. Sequentially, we want to move through a day at a time. I mean, this is what I learned in recovery. Each day is a new day. Each hour is a new hour. If you're having a bad day, start the day again. Sometimes I just go right back to bed, close my eyes, lift the covers over and say, I'm starting my day again. Okay, it's 2 o'clock. We have to have patience, perseverance, and concentration. And I'm going to talk about some of those higher qualities. Now you're going to notice my glasses. This is something that's actually bugged me. I don't know if you've noticed it, but because I get hot, my glasses start to slip, man. And it's buggy. It doesn't do that most of the time. So anyway, I'm going to be playing with my glasses. Sorry. So, beginning with the end in mind, how do you want to feel at the end, wherever that end point is? What do you want to be doing? Okay? And what do you want to be having if it's a relationship? You have to feel your way through it. Imagine yourself, smell yourself in the new place, taste what it's going to taste like in that new place with that new person or that new situation. Use all your senses, because we, as I said, we only use not 4% of ourselves, and we need to start using all of who we are, our senses. And our feelings are our GPS system. So what makes this all very tricky is that some of the time we don't know what we're feeling. We're feeling numb. Remember what I said about relationship to others in the first day on that pillar, that we were taught not to feel. We were taught not to trust, and we were taught not to talk. So now our journey is about allowing the feelings, and some of us have become overly feeling and empathetic, okay? And we need actually to pull back some of that and put it inside of us and not blurt it out and, become the drama queen. That's where the drama queen comes in, because we've bottled it up, we've held it down, not said anything. And then all of a sudden it's like, I can't not say anything anymore. And then the thought comes in, I've got to speak. And it's like, wah! Right? Because we feel we're not heard. And so we need to learn to feel every day, check in with our feelings. If you go back to that download of day 1, you'll remember that in there's a spectrum. Wake up in the morning and check in with how you feel about all these various parts of your life. And that's what I do when I wake up, just checking in. So in recovery, we have 12 steps. The Bible has the 10 commandments. So Christians have 10 commandments. The Buddhists, they don't have commandments or steps in such a way, but we have certain vows that we take. So there are 6 of those. So I haven't studied the other religions enough to know whether each of them have numbers to their systems. However, I've created these 7 steps to help me and to help you walk through sequentially what to do, what to do. So moving from a place of lack, a place of deficit, a place of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, to a place of strength, power, empowerment, wisdom, self-trust. Self-trust. Now, in the last 2 days, I've had examples of people who, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, that already these teachings are going in that they intellectually get self-trust, but then they go into an old behavior. And then this one friend in particular, you know, she caught herself. She caught herself not trusting herself. And she pulled back and she changed her action into self-trust. She began to get into the mantra, I am enough, just the way I am. And if people don't love me just the way I am, hey, that's their problem, not mine. Okay? So the first step is about awareness. I talked about awareness in the last 2 days as well. Awareness is key. The question is, what are we aware of? Okay? We're aware of our feelings, our emotions. We're aware of our thoughts. Are they bouncing off all over the place? Are we following our thoughts into actions? Are we aware of our energy? Am I depleted in my energy? Am I empowered in my energy? Am I giving my energy away? So we have to be aware of our energy. We have to be aware of our frequency. What frequency are we holding ourselves at? Now that's a whole big topic that I won't get into now. However, I'll say that a man named David Hawkins, brilliant kinesiologist, expands a lot on this notion. And it'll come up again and again as we go along. Frequency is often equivalent to a feeling. But a frequency actually is like a kinesiologist can come into the room with, I want to call it a geyser, but it's not a geyser, like an instrument, and can actually calibrate the energy of the room and the energy of who you are. And you know this feeling when you walk into a hotel room and it's kind of creepy. That's a frequency. There's a frequency in there. Or you walk into a temple or a church and you just feel this beautiful vibe. There's a frequency. There's a number that we can actually put to that energy. So we have to be aware of our own frequency. And most importantly, we have to be aware of our mind. Now in Buddhism, I need to qualify this, and I said this in the very, very first download that you guys got as the free gift. In Buddhism, we say the mind is the heart and the thoughts together, okay? So in Western world, we say thoughts and we say feelings, and often people think the mind is the thoughts. So when I refer to the mind, what I'm meaning is this combo of the heart and the thinking together. The three main delusions of the mind that we need to be aware of, and this is Buddhism, and I hope you're writing some of this down, and I'm hoping today you have a pen and paper ready, because there's a lot. I'm going to be giving you a lot. Anger, attachment, and ignorance. Those are the three, what we call root delusions of the mind. And we have 80,000 other delusions, but they all come back and stem right into these three. Anger is overly concentrating on the negative. Attachment is overly concentrating on the positive of a person, an attribute, an object. And ignorance is, this is a really tough concept to convey very quickly. The simplest way I can say it is, we live in two levels of reality. We have a lower self and we have a higher self. And it is coming to understand that we have both of these parts to us at all times. And what we forget is the higher part, the higher self. We forget about the higher power, the source energy, and we just stay in the humanness. So it's that ignorance that I'm talking about, the forgetting of our divinity, the forgetting of our, the mighty I within us, the God part, the beautiful divine part. So that's the ignorance. So when we're having a bad day, we may be in ignorance. We may have forgotten that there's a God and we're not it. And that we can call on that energy and that source to help us with whatever struggle we're having. So these are the three main things for the mind to be keeping constant, like, okay, on any given day, am I in anger, am I in attachment, or am I in ignorance? There's more delusions. One of them is pride, and like pride falls under ignorance. Doubt, there's more, right? As I said, 80,000 of them. Doubt falls under ignorance. We forget. So we have to keep the mind away from things that agitate us into those delusions to move us towards peace. We are the keepers of our mind. We have to guard our mind as closely as we would guard our eyes. That's what we say, right? Like you wear glasses, and if there's a windstorm, we guard our eyes. That's how closely we have to take care of our mind. The question is, do you want to be miserable, isolated, lonely, poor? Or do you want to live a life of ease, effortlessness, connectedness, trust, and faith? You got to first have awareness. So that's step one. That's step one on the ladder, if you will, moving to your ascension. Step two is about surrender. Okay, so you know that you're angry. You know that you're attached. You know that you're in ignorance. Now you got to surrender. So the easiest thing I say to people is get on your knees. Drop to your knees. What the Christians knew, maybe they didn't know this, but is true, is that on our knees, we have chakras. We have openings. And when we're on our knees, our heart opens up. So when I'm agitated, like say in the middle of the night, I get agitated, I just whip myself out of bed and I get on my knees, right? Or, like I'm about ready to, I didn't do it today, but often I will just be on my knees and come into my heart before a presentation. It's just the quickest way for the body to align and come back into our heart. Our left side of our brain, remember, like that fight, flight, freeze goes. If we go on our knees, we surrender. So the question is, what are we surrendering? What are we surrendering? We're surrendering our ego. We're surrendering our lower self that we don't know. Like the lower self in us that I just don't know what to do. We have to allow higher powers to come into us in order for us to progress. So we have to let go and we need to allow. For me, it's not an easy process. I would imagine for most of us, I say that we have claw marks. I have claw marks when I let go. You can see the letting go. And it's like, and I also say, like, it's like a tennis match. I let go. I lob the ball over to the divine. You take care of this, okay? I don't want to think about it. And then later in the day, there it is back in my mind. Tennis balls come back. I lob it back over to the divine. You take it, okay? I want you to take it. And then, 4 hours later, it comes back in my mind. I'm thinking about it again. So it's a practice of lobbing it back, giving it back to the divine. It's about becoming receptive and open and trusting that there is a power that's greater than us. And why do we need to have a higher power? Why do you think? For me, otherwise, I go into control. I want to manage. I have those claw marks. I want to fix and I want to change. I want to meddle. I put too much effort in to something. And what I want to do is allow and have that spirit come through me. And when that happens, the benefits, I eat less. I sleep way deeper and not I don't sleep less, but I have good quality sleep. My connection to human beings is just so on point. I have more energy. And that's all if I surrender. I give the day, I give the presentation, I give everything to the divine. Thy will, not mine, be done. So just give me a thumbs up. The first one is awareness. First step is awareness. Second step is surrender. Now tell me which one for you. Is it awareness or surrender that you're working on or you have a hard time with? Let's see. I'm interested to see from folks. Is it surrender? Because that's the kicker for me. You know, it's like, I want to have control over the outcome. And now there you go. Yeah, more challenging than awareness. There you go. Exactly. I mean, awareness is step one. That's where surrender comes next. All right. Thank you. I'm just seeing if you're there. Are you eating your dinner as you're watching this? Are you having giving yourself permission to fully be present? These are my questions. That's why. Okay, step 3. Now we have some awareness. We know which of our delusions may be coming up. We're learning to surrender, and then we have to move into inventory. We have to go one step deeper now into, oh, I see Chris has joined us. Hello, and Janet, nice to see you. We have to go inside deeper and take stock. Like, what behaviors don't serve me anymore? What behaviors do I like about myself? And what behaviors are kind of like, I don't know, I need to check these behaviors out with somebody. Okay, because you have positive and you have negative, but you also have neutral behaviors, especially around sleeping and eating. They could be neutral, and you still need to check them out, right? You want to cleanse and purify the mind. So we have to do an inventory. Why? Why do we have to do this inventory? I mean, can we progress, pardon me, to deeper prosperity if we don't do this inventory? The answer is yes, but it's way slower. It's just way, way slower. I say to people, it's like walking up a mountain with a backpack full of rocks. Now you can do it, but your journey would be much more enjoyable if you took the backpack off and you let go of all those rocks and even the whole backpack, and you walked up the hill or the mountain without it. So, you know, you're going to effort more with these delusions going on. That's why inventory is so important. You have to let that backlog of things, of resentments, backlog of fear, backlog of places where you were hurt and where you hurt others. Right? So it's not just enough that we look at ourselves and kind of go, oh yeah, well I was hurt, and you know, and blah, 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 pointing finger. It's also like, where did I cause harm? Because we're sitting on those secrets right back to childhood, and we're only as sick as our secrets. So we need to clean house, clean up. All right. If we're not cleaning up, there's no flow. It's like the energy sticks in all our chakras. Remember what I said on day 1 is that it's in the subtle body that our delusions and our negativities and our memory reside. And we can't clean that up with our thinking. We have to clean it up with various practices, meditations, techniques. And when we start cleaning out those chakras with all these different ways, there's a lightness to us. You know, I did my first inventory when I entered into recovery 20 years ago. And the stuff on that list, my very first inventory, went all the way back to childhood. It went all the way back to places where I had been hurt, people had hurt me, and also places where I had hurt others. Minor, but if they stick with you to this day, they have to be expunged by writing them out. And after we do this written inventory, then we speak it. We are in co-creation with the divine always. And the divine is pure. The divine is all love. It is us, the humanness, with our failures and our foibles and our humanness, where we have to clean up. And as we clean, we get in right relation with the divine. And as I said previously, it's as if, you know, your humanness is still here, but the divinity and the flow of love and light that's coming through you is much, much bigger, because you've moved away all the delusions and all of the impurities, the mind impurities, to be able to flow. So inventory, super, super important. The root chakra, I didn't say this with the inner child, but I'm going to say it now, is that 0 to 18 month period when we were children, all the energy rests and resides in our root chakra. And that root chakra is about our sexuality. It is about our prosperity. It is about our creativity. It is also about our safety and our security. So many people, when they start doing this work, in one of those areas, they're usually stuck. And they want to move through that resistance. So that is your root chakra, and that is early childhood development. Right? So that inner child coupled with clearing out of that lower chakra, that is the work. It is all at the beginning about how safe and secure I feel in order to progress. Once we feel safe, once we feel secure in the world and with ourselves, really at a deep level, that's when the service can be deeper and wider and more influence. The deeper the roots of the tree, the more fruit it will bear. Okay? But we can't grow deep roots if we keep running around and never looking at the root of the problem. And that harkens back to step 1, which is awareness. Now you can look at the delusion. Oh, I'm an angry person, right? And I need to do anger management. However, in Buddhism, we say you have to go right to the root of where did that anger begin? Because anger is always about an injustice. Okay? It's about an injustice that happened, and what anger covers is sadness. So if we have that sadness, we don't want to feel it. We don't even know we feel it. We don't even know we have it. That's what I mean. It's like, it's so deeply buried that the anger covers it. And then the anger can come out into the world in ways of like, we're just frustrated with people, or people don't work fast enough, or like it's a manic kind of energy. And when we slow it down, we can go into sadness. All right. So yeah, root chakra, root of problem. Absolutely. Well, not root of some kinds of problems, right? Because we have different chakras, different layers, different delusions. Beautiful. That's step 3. Step 4. Change. We have awareness, we begin to surrender, we do our inventory, we start cleaning house, and then the next step is change. Change begins. Now, we have different kinds of change, right? You have the internal changing, and then you have the external actions that come from that new internal strength that has amounted from all these other steps and coming to understand the different pillars. So when we're moving and growing, people are going to notice. And this is when what I call the change back syndrome arises. So the change back syndrome is basically you're doing your work, you're growing, you're feeling great, you're walking in the world in a new way. You're doing lots of self-care. Your physique may change. Maybe you lose weight. However it manifests for you, and people notice. And mainly the change back syndrome comes with our friends and family, close, the inner circle. And they say, hey, it's really great you're doing all this work. But when you hear that but, they're going into their head. But why don't you visit me so much anymore? Or why don't you call anymore? Or how come you don't drop in very much anymore? So what they're saying is, I want you to change back. I like the old you because the old you served me. This new you doesn't serve me. And so they get disappointed, and they can guilt trip you, and they can make you feel guilty and shameful. Really, they're messing in your garden at that moment in time. And the best response I always say with that change back syndrome is you just acknowledge that, yeah, I can understand you're noticing my change, and yeah, I'm not coming around very much anymore. I've got other things that are a priority right now. Not saying that you're not a priority, except that I'm reprioritizing my life. I'm serving myself right now and taking care of myself. This is called recovery work. All of what I'm talking about, we are recovering our spirit. We're recovering our sense of self. We're recovering that joy and innocence that we had. We uncover, we discover, and then we recover. Right? That's where the inventory work comes in. We uncover some of the past, we discover it, and then as we move into change, we're in recovery. The whole thing is about recovery and letting go, all of it. But the like the whole piece is called recovery. Change is sort of the action of this. It's a manifestation of it. What are some of the benefits of moving into change? Well, your own joy and happiness are your rewards. You begin to emanate power and peace. So much so that people want to know, like, what are you doing? Or what are you eating? Or what are you on? You emanate a higher frequency. And people love to spend time with happy people. People want to spend their money with happy, joyous people. I don't know about you, but there was a corner store in Vancouver that I used to go to. They don't have corner stores much here in Australia, but in North America. And I would go in the mornings, sometime to get newspapers. Remember back in the day, and the guy would be behind the counter, and he'd be a curmudgeon, right? And it was a local corner store. So hi, how are you? And passing my whatever it was, 50 cents. Yeah, 50 cents kind of in those days. And he'd take the money and sort of put it away. And like, if he'd been joyful, I'd be happy to give him my 50 cents. Like, here it is, right? And have a little conversation and everything. We want to spend our money with happy people. You've been into those shops where people are genuinely good-hearted and peaceful and they're helpful and they want to help you. They don't care whether you buy, they just want to be helpful. And then you kind of feel free to want to buy something. This is how this ties into prosperity. I always want to bring it back to the very practical. How does this actually help us prosper and help us become abundant? Our joy is our gold. I was on a call earlier this morning and the topic was happiness. And I shared with people that happiness is actually a program in us. We all have different programs, right? If you aren't in a state of love, you are in a program. So happiness is even a program. We can choose to be happy or unhappy. We can choose peace. It's a program that we put in. And so we bump up against somebody who's gnarly. I'm going to choose peace. It's a program to move us towards love. It's just like your computer, guys. Each of your computers has multiple programs. You've got a program for your numbers. You have Excel or you have numbers. You have a program for your typing. You have Word or you have Pages, right? So there's all these different programs in your computer and you have a main operating system. The main operating system is either, in the computer world, Mac or PC. The main operating systems in life are fear or love. What is yours right at the base? Ask yourself that. If you feel inclined, share it. If you want to share it right here. Because for me, it was fear. It was fear, and then all the programs stemmed from there. Today, it's love, okay? So we're always in progress. We're always in progress. Nobody's sharing. They don't want to say, oh yeah, actually my main operating system. Our programs, though, can be positive programs. Are we, though, motivated from fear to get better as opposed to love of self to get better? And another benefit of change is we're emanating at a higher frequency, and people, we attract in new people. We attracted new people. Okay, yeah, it took people a little while. Okay. Either that or you're on your phone watching something else. Okay. So there can be many, I mean, there are many, many emotions within our being, but foundationally, like I'm just being made aware, like the operating system is different than the operating emotions or the programs that are coming in. Okay? There's a distinction. It's like, and it goes back to early childhood, right? This stuff is so deep. And in my belief system, it goes back lifetimes. It's not just about this lifetime. And that's why some people struggle to, for the change to happen. Because you're cleaning up a lineage. You're cleaning up maybe 6, 7 generations of fear. And I know in my family, that's the work I've been doing. My grandparents were in fear. My parents were in fear. My great-grandmother, like I know that one of my great-grandmothers was in a Russian orphanage when she was a child. So she was an orphan, like in sort of the mid or early 1800s. Can you imagine what it would be like? It's sort of like Oliver Twist time with all the darkness and stuff. So it's an operating system that it's insidious until we become aware of it. And then we start making it change. So the emotions, the programs can be very positive. But as I say, if the root of it is still coming from fear, we have to turn that around. All right? Okay, so from step 4, change, now we move to step 5, which is perseverance. And I'm just looking at, mine was always anger and fear till today, which is love. Yes. Love, it's not a feeling. Love is a state of being, okay? And I'll talk more about that tomorrow. Love is a state of being. It is not an emotion. What we call an emotion is more about attachment, a degree of attachment, which we are slowly learning to let go of, or desire. Okay, but desire and attachment aren't necessarily love. They can lead us to love. Okay, talk about that more. So then we go step after 4, where we're changing. Perseverance is step 5. We're gonna get hit. Life just does it. We have external things that we cannot control. Global financial crisis, a child dies, we get made redundant. This is the universe's way of saying, you know what? There's a big plan here. I can see 200 years and you can see 3 seconds of your life. And so the bigger picture will hit us with our lessons. And this is a time when we have to, and I call it capacity building. This is a time when we bump up against that place in us where it's hard, all right? And we feel weary. We just can't do anymore. And we have to go on. And every single one of us, me included, has felt that. Is that place inside which is like, I just can't. I just can't. I'm exhausted. I have been doing this work for 20 years, right? Or whatever, or whoever. And we can sit down on the sidelines and take a rest. You have to give yourself permission to rest. The thing is that most of the Western world is in that restful state all the time. And they're into apathy and lethargy. And we have to actually put effort in to be progressive in order for enlightenment or our own spiritual development to illuminate and to grow stronger. All right. We can be, like I said, I took 2 years to sit on the bench. I couldn't be in the game. I had to sit on the bench because I was exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that's what the divine wanted for me. Okay, I fought it. My humanness fought it. However, things were being worked out in me. Perseverance. Okay, so we call this in Buddhism also joyful effort. We're putting in effort into our life in a joyful way. In a joyful way. We're expanding, right? And we're continuing our agenda. And also the higher powers agenda with us. So it is about expansion. Now, if you're not in expansion, you're in contraction. And as I said, if you're consciously choosing contraction, that's okay. If, however, you're in react mode and you're in freeze, then make another choice. Get some help. Reach out to somebody to say, look, I don't want to be stuck here in this contracted state. I'm getting sick. My throat chakra is stuck. However it's manifesting. When we're in perseverance, our character is being built. Our self-esteem is getting strengthened. Our self-worth is also getting strengthened. When you think back on your life, all those places where you had the most challenging time and you got through, like say in your youth, when you saved up your pennies, right? You had that lemonade stand or whatever you did to save your pennies, and then you bought that first bicycle or your first car or whatever it was that you saved up. You persevered. Oh, the fruit is so much sweeter, is it not? Is it not? So then later in life, okay, we get all of that stuff, but we still want that inner peace, the inner happiness, and we have to persevere. This is something that's also very interesting in perseverance, is that we have to go beyond our old beliefs. We have to move beyond the beliefs, and often our experience will take us there, and we get confused. Sort of like, wow, that's beyond what I believe, but this new place I totally agree with. And I'll give you 2 examples. And this week I've had 2 examples. 2 people approached me, and one was a Christian and one was a Buddhist, right? So it's everywhere. It's not just in secular society. It's everywhere. Is that like this Buddhist had these beliefs that all Buddhists were loving and encompassing and allowing of other religions, because that's actually one of the tenets of Buddhism, is like live and let live. And if it works for you, then do it. And if it doesn't work for you, let it go, right? And I say that to you, if it doesn't work for you, let it go. And this woman who I was having lunch with, she said that she had met a Buddhist friend of hers, a very close friend, in fact, totally thought going to a Hindu ceremony was like devious, was a cult, right? And my friend was like she was alarmed that her friend would have this belief, because my friend really, 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 truly believed that all Buddhists were open-minded and adhered to some of these tenets. So this is an example of our experiences take us beyond our beliefs. Like, we believe that everybody in Buddhism, or this woman believed everyone in Buddhism had the same beliefs, but her experience has shown her different. Same in Catholicism. I had another friend who shared with me that her Catholic friends, her Christian friends, thought some of her work, working with energy, was also demonic or bad, or it wasn't Christian. And so it's like she's grown beyond the Catholic beliefs into a more higher state of being. And it can be very confusing. It can be very confusing at the beginning. Like, am I not a good Catholic? Am I not a good Buddhist if I don't put somebody down, or if I hear, like, I think that kirtan is a cult. If I don't agree with that, maybe I'm a bad Buddhist. So it can be confusing. What is happening is that through your perseverance of your character, You're actually growing beyond some beliefs into a higher state. Okay, you have purified some places in yourself beyond the program. And programs and structures are given to us for liberation, right? For liberation. They're not there to tie us down and to suffocate us. We need structure for our mind in order for freedom to come. And once that starts coming, we can let the structure go. We need discipline, but at the beginning stages, we need lots and lots and lots of discipline. Lots of structure, lots of adherence, right? Most, still today, like get on your cushion, sit, meditate every day, like structure, discipline, so that the mind familiarizes itself, and then we can move forward. So these are two examples of how perseverance, when we're working with the mind, we can go beyond our own beliefs, and we have to create new beliefs. All right. There's a saying, and I want you to write this down. The ego isn't privy to the soul's agenda. The ego isn't privy to the soul's agenda, which means we have a state of mind in our head, our ego, the small self in us, that says that you're supposed to be a certain way. And then the soul takes us somewhere else, especially through perseverance. And we get rattled because the ego is like, whoa, I don't know about this. And yet you've gone beyond an old belief. Our higher purpose is always what is forefront, okay? We are co-creating what it is that we're here to do on the planet. As I said, begin with the end in mind. And the divine will sometimes take us places unexpectedly in order for us to grow more deeply. This is where the perseverance comes in. Okay, so we've got awareness, we've got surrender, we've got inventory, we've got change, we've got change, and now we're at perseverance, number 5. Step 6, compassion. Now, just give me a thumbs up. Is this helpful? Are you getting something? I just need a little love coming. Are you getting this? Is it making sense? All right. So just, yes. Okay, good. Beautiful. Thank you. I'm here in a room. I'm talking to a computer. So I'm hoping that you on the other side are enjoying it. I can feel you. I can actually feel the energy coming when I see the responses. And I know where you're, I know where you, some of you where you live and some of you I don't. So good. Excellent. Good. Thank you. Step 6. Now we move from perseverance to compassion. I'm going to step back. In perseverance, sometimes it will either break somebody because they're so tight and brittle, a new experience will break them, or it will strengthen them. And when it strengthens us, that's when we become more compassionate. So step 6 is actually fierce compassion, not just compassion. This is a time when that mother bear part will arrive. And it's not a place of caretaking. It's not about being a doormat. It is about doing the right thing for the right reason. Okay? It is definitely not about people pleasing, meddling in somebody else's garden and taking care of them. It's not about rescuing. Sometimes it means that you have to let the person fall in front of you. Let them tumble and fall. That is compassion. Allowing somebody to grow at their own rate. Allowing them to become empowered at their time, not your time. Have you ever felt for somebody that you want their healing more than they want it for themselves? I certainly have. I have met hundreds of people in my walk of life and in my profession where I want for them more than they want for themselves. And this is where you have to just have compassion, deep love, deep love. We can't make anybody change. We can't take anybody to their next level. Nobody. They have to want it. They have to do it for themselves. So compassion has two levels to it. It has what we call aspiring compassion. And then it has what we call realized compassion. So first we intellectualize it as something that we want to aspire to, which means like we see an old lady with her groceries and we think about, okay, well, maybe should I help her across the street, or should I let that cab go to the next person? Like, we have to stop. That's the aspirational compassion. Realized compassion is absolutely no thought. It's just action. But you have to have wisdom in there. Benefits of having compassion. Okay. For me, no more isolation. There is no us and them. There's this interdependence now between all of humanity. Interdependence between all situations. There is no division between, the me and you, us and them. It is a we proposition now. No more isolation. People aren't afraid of you. Okay, so when we're in our fight, flight, freeze, especially fighters, people used to be afraid of me. And oh man, when I heard that, my soft little 18-month-old heart, my 4-year-old was just like, oh God, people are afraid of me? Because that was the persona I had created to protect me. But inside, I was a little mushball, right? We say in recovery, your insides have to match your outsides. That's the work. So it's been a journey between, the inner and the outer coming together so that people aren't afraid of me. All right? That they don't get repulsed or they don't want to run. It's like, oh, she's so whatever. So the benefits are there's a feeling of community, a feeling of belonging. I was chatting with somebody on Facebook yesterday after our last call regards that sense of belonging. Okay, so she got wounded and she just thought it was her. She just thought it was a character defect. She was going to be broken there and she's just kind of compensated. And I let her know, no, that's a wounding from when she was between the ages of 7 and 13. That's when that peer development. So I said, go back and find out where were you hurt then. Okay, I got to keep going. I'm loving this, and I also know that people have to go to bed, they have to go back to work, they have to, so tighten it up. So step 6 is about compassion. Step 7, about embodying our authentic self. It is about doing, being, and having all in alignment with ourselves. It is about the authentic place. In this place, we're filled with gratitude. Okay? From this place, we're dancing between our higher self, spirit, and the material realm. We have one foot in the spirit world and one foot on the ground in human life, and we dance between them. All right? At all times, like we're always aware. That is always in operation. Why do we need to have this embodiment of this energy? This is where the deeper freedom, this is where the creativity, the beauty, the prosperity lives. So you have to go through all these steps about awareness and surrender and inventory, and then putting up boundaries and having a kickback and voice and having the change back syndrome, and then the capacity building of perseverance, and then we move into compassion, and then this gorgeous place arises, right? You have an appreciation for everything. Beauty, truth. You know even that the ugly, the injustice is part of the bigger picture. You might not, it's like you used to be able to feel it or think it intellectually. Now you know it in your heart. So embodying an authentic self and being on any given day, whatever it is that you're feeling, that's an authentic self. It's not about always trying to be rigid in this idea of who we are. Rather, it's about flowing with exactly who we are. And one minute I can be angry, and then the next I can be absolutely joyful. because I have control over, I know the emotions, I know what's happening, I know what's causing it, I can see it, I can verbalize it, and then I let it go. I don't hold on to it. One woman, I remember I spoke my truth at one point, and she thought I was being manipulative. I was like, no, I'm just speaking my truth. I'm just saying how I feel. I'm not trying to do anything. The Western world doesn't operate in the feeling realm. People like, oh, you're telling me how you feel? Like, I don't want to know, right? Except that that's what binds us. And the more we speak it, the more others speak it. And more others speak it, the more the unity happens. And we don't feel so isolated, and we actually feel like a oneness. Now, we're at a deficit right now because the world is moving in an opposite direction. It's becoming very isolationist, right? It's becoming very, with Brexit, we want ours. With America alone, right? The Spain thing, Catalonia, all by ourselves. So it's fracturing right now. So we have to redouble our efforts to speak our feelings without manipulation, without a need for something to come back. It's just, yeah, I'm sad. I feel a bit bereft. I'm a bit abandoned in this moment, and then let it go. But that takes a higher state of being to watch ourselves in that place. So I want to just give you some examples of some women, some people that I've worked with that have come through these 7 steps, these 3 pillars and 7 steps. A gorgeous woman, an architect. And when she started working with me, her biggest contract to that point was, I think, $1 million. And after working these steps, her next contract was over 12 million. I mean, we worked at her, she saw some of her belief systems about her mother. She had her partner, a business partner, and she and that business partner parted. And the next contract was this amazing contract. She was like, I can't believe I shifted a major belief system and this happened. It's like, yeah, this is what happens. Another woman with her relationship. So she and this man had been together 2-3 years, and she was at the end of her rope. It was like, this is just not happening. She even had 2 kids with the guy. Couldn't pull it together. It's like, he won't change. And I just said to her, look, it ain't about him. It's about you and your expectations. And we started working these steps, right? These 3 pillars, these steps. Within 3 months, he proposed marriage. They hadn't ever been married. I mean, it was like 5 years or 3 years or whatever they were together. Now they're married and gone on. So this is not pie in the sky stuff. This is like tangible, real, actionable steps and work that manifests. Just a quick one about one woman that I worked with around the changeback syndrome. Nat, she back in Canada, she had a very dysfunctional codependent relationship with her mother. And she was trying to extricate herself from that. And as she was extricating herself, her mother did the change back. It was like, you don't phone me every day. How come you don't phone me every day? How come you don't come visit? And she was suicidal when she came to see me. She was suicidal coming to see me. And we were trying to help her extricate from this deep codependence. And she was, and her mom did the change back. And her mom literally said the words, I want the old you back. And she finally had the strength to say, Mom, I was suicidal. I was so unhappy I didn't want to be on the planet. I am not going back to being that person. So, as I said, this stuff is real. What is the bottom line? I'm going to give you the bottom line to all of the work that we've been talking about the last 3 days. The bottom line. Yeah, give me a thumbs up. You want to know what the bottom line is? Are you still there? Talk to me, guys. Give me some love. Yep. Okay, yeah, let's hear it. Okay, the bottom line. You have to put in practices. You have to have a routine. You have to come to know your default patterns inside out and then rewrite them. Okay, it's not enough just to know them. You have to rewrite them. The neural pathways, they're always going to be there. You got to write new ones. You got to write new neural pathways. You have to have applied diligence. You have to have guidance. You have to have a teacher at some level There's a lot of what we call self-help out there. Another thing that the part of the bottom line is learning about your worthiness, the root chakra, cleaning it out, learning that you can become what I call a money magnet so that it just arises unexpectedly. Boundaries. You have to learn about boundaries and put them into place day after day after day. Learning about, am I being overly responsible in my family, in my workplace? Where am I taking on way too much and I'm disempowering people? Learning techniques, emotional freedom techniques. So like when we're doing these default patterns and finding ourselves in them and we're trying to change them, we need to have techniques that help us actually move from one neural pathway to the next. Because when we're like severe patterning around, say, fear or scarcity, and we start moving out of our comfort zone and changing the patterning, what will happen is the heart will palpitate, the mouth will get dry, we'll get confused, there'll be this confusion, you'll even get dizziness, and you have to have a technique to move you through that. It can be EFT, which is an emotional freedom technique, tap touching. I am also a teacher of the Gems of Excellence, which is working with the brain and recalibrating the brain so that it comes back into talking, the left and the right, the front and the back. So these are techniques that actually move the brain and the neural pathways to a new place. So you can come into a state of peace again. We want to work with the breath. We want to work with the purification systems so that you're purifying your chakras without the intellect. You have to work with your inner child day in and day out. So these are some of the absolute bottom line things that you must be practicing in order to move into your spirit and deepen your intimacy on a daily basis with yourself. Continuous connection with Source. I'll give you a couple of examples. Again, a woman I worked with out in Perth, hers was around her health. So she had like a fibromyalgia. She had this chronic, it's not chronic fatigue, but it was something to do with her muscles. She was a vet. She had a veterinary practice, but she was like, Ange, I can't keep it up. I'm going to have to sell it, or I'm going to have to. And she came and did some of my work, and she was way more astounded than I was. She started to change her beliefs, and lo and behold, she let some staff members go that were toxic first. Again, service to self. They were toxic, got in new people. Lo and behold, then she started a second clinic. Then she pulled back on her hours to have her time and her freedom. So there she was operating 2 clinics and having more time to herself because she changed her beliefs and she started following this path. Another woman, Marilyn, again out in Perth, she's a realtor, and she came and we did some work together, and she just couldn't sell these properties. It was just sort of like, I don't know what's wrong with me. So she was operating with a belief system that it was hard. And doing these 3 pillars, 7 steps, lo and behold, she cracked some of the beliefs, and she began to be the top earner in her office selling real estate. She wrote to me, she goes like, this stuff is magic. Is it magic? Is it divine? Is it a divine creation that we are supposed to be here to enjoy? Enjoy life, enjoy ourselves, enjoy others. That's what we're here to do. In the meantime, we've got to scrape away all that delusional stuff that's keeping us apart from the joy. So, my friends, give me a thumbs up. Tell me if you're going to come to day 4. Tomorrow, day 4, like write the number 4, we're going to be talking about pulling it all together, and I'm going to talk about a program that I've created to help people move through these 3 pillars and these 7 steps. Okay, it's a spiritual coaching program. I'll get into it more tomorrow, delineate it. Obviously, there's just so much to say. I just love, I'm in my happy place. I'm in my happy spot talking about this stuff. And I'll tell you why. It's because I was so miserable and so unhappy. I was so invisible. I was so lacking in faith. And these steps I took. I mean, I created this because these are the steps I took. And step 6 around perseverance is a real toughie. And I feel like I know now that I'm a master at how to persevere. Coming right from the age of 14, from that first initial abuse, up until, there's always betrayals, there's always things. It is about that perseverance. So I'm going to help you to learn how to get through these 3 pillars, 7 steps quicker, with more ease, with guidance and gentleness. So, my lovelies, my dear ones, I love you all. I'm just thrilled, all over the country. I see some 4s. It makes my heart just ring. So, same bat time, same bat channel. Those of you who can't make it, know that you're going to be sent the recording. Go to your download sheet. I didn't mention it today, but your download sheet has the 7 steps in sequential order with some of the key points. And tomorrow you're going to get the whole banana. You're going to get the whole blueprint for the 3 pillars and 7 steps. So be well until tomorrow. Keep the faith. Know that you are loved beyond belief. The power is here. The source is the source. You are not the source. Money is not the source. Let the source come in and empower you. Until then, keep the faith. Bye.